Hello and welcome to the show. This is the podcast, the Hobnobbin with Slim Man podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for spreading the word, Slim people. I am your host, the Slim Man, the slimmest of all men, Slim Papa Showstopper. And today, we're going to drop in on my chat with Jeff Kashiwa. He's a sax man, he's a music educator, and he's also a taco maker. But before we hunker down, let me tell you all about the latest news from the Slim Shack. Sunday night with the big band was unbelievable. It was really and truly a wonderful night. I sang with the Ira B. Liss Big Band Jazz Machine at the Bernardo Winery outside of San Diego, and it was just one of those magical nights, Slim people. I got to the venue, the Bernardo Winery, at about 4 p.m., and we did the sound check. Everything sounded great. And then I went over to the merch table because I wanted to make sure everything was good with the new CD, since it was a CD release party for the Young at Heart CD. And the woman who was selling the CDs and the aprons and all the merch and stuff, well, she showed up late, but we got everything set up and looking good. And as I was waiting to go on stage, the merch babe told me that she was a singer. And then she told me that she had just done naked karaoke in front of 150 people. She told me she lives in a nudist park, a nudist colony, whatever they call those things these days, and she had just sung completely naked in the nudist colony for 150 naked people. Now, for me, the thought of singing naked in front of a bunch of naked people, I don't know, it sounds like a recurring nightmare I used to have as a kid. But anyway, as I was waiting to go on stage, a guy came up to me and started chatting. I've seen him at a bunch of Slim shows. Nice guy, funny, sarcastic in that East Coast kind of way. And he looked at me and said, "Why don't you wear shorts? It's hot as hell out here." And I told him, I don't know, I couldn't see Miles Davis in a pair of Bermudas. I couldn't see Louis Armstrong go on stage wearing cutoffs, or John Coltrane doing a show in a pair of biker shorts. And then the guy motioned towards the stage, and the band leader, Ira B. Liss, he was wearing a pair of peach-colored shorts and a Hawaiian shirt. Well, so much for my jazz guys don't wear shorts theory. Anyway, Ira actually looked pretty cool in those shorts. Of course, Ira's like 6'10", so he can get away with it. Anyway, the big band was big. I guess that's why they call it a big band. It was like 18 pieces. There were all kinds of trumpets and trombones and saxes and flutes, plus guitar and bass and drums and piano. Ira Liss, the band leader guy, Ira B. Liss, Ira Bliss, get it? Well, he gave me quite the introduction. He went through my whole life story. He knew it better than I did. And when he got to the part where I sang for Pope John Paul II at the Vatican on Christmas Day, I thought the people in the audience might nominate me for sainthood. I mean, the whole truth is, I sang in a choir for Pope John Paul II. It's not like I was singing lullabies at his bedside as he fell asleep. But I'll take it. It was a really nice intro. And when I hit the stage, I don't know, it was hard to describe. It felt like I just knew it was going to be a really good night. I don't know if that's because I prepared so hard or if it was because all the stars and the planets were aligned and in sync, but I had a feeling from the get-go that it was going to be a really good night. Keep in mind, Ira has all the original charts from Nelson Riddle when he did all those Frank Sinatra records at Capitol. Ira's also got the charts that Quincy Jones did for Count Basie when Sinatra sang, Fly Me to the Moon and The Best Is Yet to Come. And he's got the original Don Costa arrangement of New York, New York. These are the real deal charts, the real deal stuff, and man, what a blast. Anyway, last Sunday was really, really good, and I hate to keep going on about it, but man, I had so much fun. All right, what else, Slim people? Oh, on Tuesday, I made dinner for some friends in Carlsbad. I stopped by the fish market, and I guess halibut must be running these days because it had just come in that morning. And I bought a big piece, and I went back to the house, and I made a marsala sauce. Now, the great thing about marsala sauce, you can put it over chicken or veal, but you can also use it over fish. The cool thing about marsala sauce is you make it separately. You can make it in advance, in a half hour in advance, 20 minutes in advance, and then you can make your veal or your chicken or your fish, and then just put a little bit of sauce over it. Well, I made the marsala sauce, and then I dusted some halibut with flour, and I sauteed it in olive oil over medium-high heat for about a couple of minutes aside, get it nice and seared and golden brown. And then I drizzled a little sauce over each piece of halibut, and I had made a bunch of pappardelle noodles. Those are the Italian egg noodles. And I put a little extra sauce over the pasta, and she was so nice. Anyway, the recipe is in the Slim Man Cooks cookbook, and I also posted it on the slimmancooks.com website, free for all slim people. What else on Wednesday? Oh, yeah, Wednesday I drove to Laguna Beach for the big concert at the Festival of Arts. It's a beautiful venue, a couple of blocks from Laguna Beach, and they have concerts in the early evening in a pavilion that they just remodeled, and the shows are open air, and people can bring food and wine, and it's really and truly wonderful. Tatang Katindig, my Filipino friend, the Thriller from Manila, he played keyboards. And they had a Yamaha Baby Grand on stage, this beautiful piano. Wow, it was so elegante. Craig Chestnut C. Chisel played the drums, and Greg Vale played the sax. And, it was such a different vibe from the big band show. I mean, this was mostly Slim Man songs, so they're kind of laid back. But, man, what a lot of fun to do my own stuff. And after the first set, we took a break. And a slim person came up and asked me if I was tired. He told me I wasn't moving around as much as I normally do. So I guess I was a little laid back, but I pumped up the energy level just a touch when we did the second set. And then, people started dancing, and some folks brought some glasses of wine up to the stage, and we were drinking and having fun. And when the band left the stage, the crowd was screaming. I'm not sure what they were screaming, but it seemed positive, so we went back and did an encore, and that's when they started a smooth jazz mosh pit, and I dove into the middle of it and landed on top of a guy in a wheelchair. I'm just kidding. We ended the show with an encore, and it was so nice. And then I drove 2.5 hours back to Palm Springs. The next day was kind of like the day after Christmas. It was, a combination of relief with a little bit of sadness. You know what I mean? All right, that's what's been going on around the Slim Shack. Now let's dig into my chit-chat with Sax Man Jeff Kashiwa. He's got a new CD called Fly Away. He's a very talented sax player, plus he is a musical educator. That's right, he teaches there in the state of Washington. So, we're going to hear all about Jeff and what he does and how he does it. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Jeff Kashiwa. I had to go get a glass of water, as you called, because I just came in from taking a walk, run, and it's 102 degrees outside. It's supposed to get up to 116.
That's brutal. Very brutal. I don't know how you do it. How do you keep your skin so moist?
I rub olive oil all over it. Olive oil and garlic.
That's right.
And I'm good to go. So what's been happening?
Well, it's been a fun summer. I've actually, as I mentioned before, I released a brand new CD a couple weeks ago, August 4th. And
yeah, I heard it. I actually, it's strange. When I listen to music, I usually listen to 1 minute of a song, and then I go through all 10 songs, and I figure after that 10 minutes if it's worth a listen. I'll go back. But with yours, I'm not trying to blow smoke up your beep, but I started listening to the first track, and I really found it intriguing, and I was glad I did because I was hoping that I liked it. You know what I mean? I didn't want to not like it, but I did. I really did. And I thought that the production was, I mean, it was just stellar. It sounded more like a contemporary jazz, like Yellow Jackets kind of CD rather than a smooth jazz CD.
You hit it right on the head. I mean, that's really where I've always been trying to come from. I listen to a lot of straight ahead, and I listen to a lot of pop, and somewhere in the middle is the kind of music I make. And you're right about that. I kind of, those are the kind of groups I'm drawn to: Steps Ahead, Yellow Jackets, etc.
It was really refreshing to hear, really good players playing well-written songs, and the arrangements are cool, and you did a couple of, time signatures, and you had a couple of, unexpected things like that little rock and roll thing that Alan Hines did. What made you hook up with Alan Hines? I did a tour with him and Randy Crawford in Germany. Wow, he's a talented guy. How did you hook up with him to play guitar on your new CD?
Well, you know what?
What's it called? What's it called again? Fly Away?
Yeah, the CD's called Fly Away. And this time I really did feature the core rhythm section that I use. All my friends from the Southern California area, I call them Coastal Access, and we've played together in clubs for years and years. So I've known Alan for such a long time. I've lost track of the number of years, as I have Dave Hooper and Melvin Davis. Maybe 30 years.
Dave Hooper, the drummer, and Melvin Davis, the bass player.
Yes. All those guys are busy playing with other artists, such as, Dave's out with Dave Koz right now. Melvin's out with Lee Ritenour and Shaka Khan on separate tours, and Gerald Albright. And Alan, you mentioned Randy Crawford. He also used to play with the Crusaders and Hiroshima way back when. But they're all wonderful players. Yeah.
So you've played with Alan Hines for a while, huh?
Yeah, I use him on all my recordings. He's one of the finest guitar soloists I've ever heard, so I always use him for the special guitar solos.
He has a knack for doing things that are intriguing, like the way he kind of slides into notes and stuff where you expect him to just kind of hit it straight, and he'll bend down to notes. I really do. I really liked listening to him play. I haven't heard him play in a while, and it was, what a nice touch to have on the album. Where did you hook up with, who was it, Tom Schumann from the Spyro Gyra? Yeah,
Tom has been really, over the years, become a great friend. I think I might have just introduced myself to him at a concert, at one of the Spyro concerts. There's a time where APA, that's a booking agency, was booking both the Rippingtons and Spyro Gyra. So we'd play together on the same bill. And I think during one of those many times I, hang out with him backstage. And that's really where you get to know musicians, backstage. But we became friends. And, I played on his album. He's played on my albums. And he did such a great job of one of my new songs called 6 of 1. He loved it so much. He goes, "Jeff, I'm going to write a song called Half a Dozen of the Other." So there you have it.
Yeah, that's a kind of rockin' tune. Were you apprehensive about putting like something like that on a CD of primarily?
Slim, let me tell you, this project, more so than ever, maybe it's just my old age setting in, I was working completely off of instinct, learning to trust myself, and whatever I felt was right, I would do. And that also includes giving it up to the musicians, like, okay, you put your vibe here, and just take a couple of passes. And, Alan is always surprising me, and Tom Schumann's always surprising me with what they come up with.
I mean, the sound of the album is nice. It's nice to have it sound so live. I mean, when you have real drums on a CD, it just makes a huge difference. And when you have guys, real guys playing real instruments with microphones and things like that, it's an altogether different vibe than if you're doing everything with synthesizers and sequencers and machines and such. It sounds kind of expensive.
You are correct.
You know what I mean?
That's the best compliment you could have ever given me. It sounds very expensive.
Yeah, it does. It sounds, well, it sounds kind of elegant. You know what I mean? It sounds like it was yeah, it was expensive. Now, are you funding these CDs yourself? Is there a
Well,
record company involved? Is there a? Did you
no.
hit the Powerball or something we don't know
Yeah,
about?
this is the first time this CD right here, Fly Away, my 10th solo CD, is the first time I've actually done everything myself. I'm an independent artist, as they say. So I'm used to the music production, but also the actual manufacturing and advertising and all that other stuff I was responsible for. And I'm actually kind of enjoying the process, but as you mentioned, it does cost. So I had to spread things out over time so I could, do things in sections.
Well,
Yeah.
so that how long did it take you to do this thing?
We broke ground on the CD on Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving 2016. I called everyone up and said, I know you're free because you're home with your family. So would your wives mind if I grabbed you for a day? And so they all showed up in a studio in Hollywood, and we tracked live all the rhythm section parts. And then we did overdubs following.
So you did track
months.
it all live?
Yes, a lot of it. Almost all of it.
I was afraid to ask that. I mean, my thought has always been, who cares if Van Gogh used a roller or a brush? It's really the end result that matters. If you don't like what you hear, it doesn't matter how they did it. But then again, when something sounds like, like the ingredients, they're very important. Like when you're cooking and stuff, you don't want to use no bad chicken and stuff. So I mean, when you're cooking, you don't want to use bad ingredients, and when you're making music, you don't want to, cut corners and do things the El Cheapo way. But getting guys live into a studio all in the same room, it's just a wonderful sound, and I got to give it to you. It's a good
Thank
sound
you.
and CD. The album covers the album cover is a little scary looking. What's up with that?
It's pretty cool. It's like it's a shot right downtown Seattle in front of a beautiful. It's called Fifth and Madison condos because that's where they're located, and it's got a beautiful mosaic on the side. So I stood in front of it and had the photographer shoot me with an upward view.
Yeah, I know. It's really cool. Cool cover. So you designed this whole thing yourself, and you went through the whole process? You were your own record company for this?
Yes, and I hired the best graphic designer I know, my wife, to do all the layout of the CD and everything. And so we're really, what do you call it, a mom and pop shop.
You're a mom and pop shop. Now, how long have you been married?
I'm going to say 24 years. I've lost track. Yeah, 24.
You better hope she's not standing next to you.
She doesn't know either. She doesn't know either. But, you mentioned the organic nature of the CD. That was absolutely a goal, not only starting with the rhythm, checking the rhythm section live to get the feel and the ebb and flow of each song. But then on top of that, we overdub actual human beings. So I've got real French horn, a real string section, etc. throughout.
That was one of the things that struck me was real live strings. Once again, that's quite an elegant touch, but it had to have cost a pretty penny to bring in even a small string section to play on a CD.
It adds up after a while, but you can kind of get some string players. I have used. They actually were everyone was very reasonable with their rates. I just kind of explained to them, I don't have a ton of money, but I want to compensate you for your time and et cetera, et cetera. So off I went. But,
now, did you start off with a budget, like an X amount dollar factor?
Yeah, I was kind of guesstimating because from past albums, I thought I don't want to spend any more than past albums, and I've pretty much hit my target there. Same cost the same. The only difference is I'm paying for everything, so it's going to be. It's definitely an investment, and it's one of those things where, like, how much do you believe in yourself? That kind of thing. I was coaching myself a lot during this process.
Yeah, you really have to be your own, your own cheerleader. Keep going. It's going to be okay. I know.
Absolutely.
And you just once you give birth to a CD, it's a difficult process. Well, at least for me it is, because, like, for instance, I just put out a CD of all the Rat Pack stuff, and I was just, you get so deep into it, and you've listened to it 100,000 times, up and down, forwards and backwards.
Yeah.
It's like eating meatballs 100 days in a row. I don't care how good the meatballs are, like on the 101st day, like, please, no meatballs. Are you at that point with this CD where you're like, I can't listen to it anymore, or does it still kind of give you?
I was getting there towards the end. It's like, okay, I've listened to each track about 1,000 times, as you mentioned. It's like, okay, I can't. And plus, I think I listen differently. And this is a funny turn of phrase. Well, I had an engineer years ago tell me, Jeff, you just got to learn to listen to the song differently.
Have you ever thought about bringing somebody else in to mix or somebody else in to produce your CDs to kind of get a little more perspective?
I have, and again, budget is a concern. I did have another engineer who's a wonderful guy I met basically on the internet. I emailed him after watching a Pat Metheny video that I liked, and he was very open to mixing this project, so I gave it all the files to him, and he mixed it. His name is Pete Karam, and
wow.
So he mixed it, yeah. But we would go. I was actually on vacation in Hawaii at the time with my little iPhone, going back and forth as we do, saying, "Can you take the tambourine down at the bridge? Can you do this?" And he'd do all those requests and send me new mixes.
I know it's amazing the way technology is today. You can do so many things in remote locations. When I was working on the fourth Bonafide CD, I was up in the mountains of Colorado, and I was, I was getting sent mixes by Mark Antoine, who was mixing the thing, and he was sending me mixing, and I was taking listens to this thing in my car on top of this mountain, like overlooking this valley. It was beautiful. But it's amazing what you can get accomplished these days with all the technology that abounds.
Well, that sounds like a great idea. I mean, to really be out of the studio and to listen with fresh ears, and being in your car is even better, because that's really where people are going to hear the music.
Yeah, it's strange. Like when you release a CD, first of all, when I got my CDs back, a week and a half ago, I pulled one out, and I didn't have anything to play it on other than my car. I used to have a boom box, and then, the kids destroyed it, and but I didn't have anything to play it on, so I've ended up, finding an old computer that had a disk drive, and I hooked it up to a little small Bluetooth speaker, and that's what I ended up listening to it on. Are you concerned about?
Funny.
Are you concerned about people don't listen to CDs, that they're not, kind of consuming them in the way that they used to?
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? I'm okay with it, whichever way it flows, because I have just as many downloads. Now that I'm the label, I can actually watch the sales of the product go by, and I have just as many downloads as I do people actually buying the CD. So it's 50-50, and I think eventually you're going to see that change to just downloads.
So how did you get started in this musical journey? I mean, when you were a kid, was there a certain moment that, some moment that came about where you were like,
Yeah, I can. There's key moments, and I remember them like they just happened yesterday. First one was before I even played an instrument. We had a very strong music program where I grew up in the Shoreline School District, and by the way, that's where I now teach at a college, Shoreline Community College. But
where is Shoreline Community College?
It's in what they call North Seattle.
Okay.
So just north of Seattle, yeah. And I was, 5, 6, 7 years old, singing in the choir. But we sang one of the songs from Shangri-La, "The World Is a Circle," and it was it sounds corny as I describe it, but it was quite moving. If you imagine all these children, and we grabbed hands and we stood around our parents in this huge circle, the entire school, and we sang the song. But I remember, because it's such an emotional moment, getting goosebumps because the song is really pretty. And being moved by something that we were creating. That's the seed, right? Wow, I feel this high just from singing with other people. And then same thing happened when we played. My 6th grade band director was a really cool guy, and we wouldn't play just marches and stuff. He'd bring in handwritten charts of famous tunes like Bad Bad Leroy Brown, pop tunes at the time, Jesus Christ Superstar, and it was just all unison stuff, but we all get to play the melody. And I remember playing Jesus Christ Superstar, 6th grade, clarinet, and the drums start the song, and the goosebumps. I was so excited waiting to come in. It's like you get grabbed by music. enters your body and never leaves. And so that was when I realized I want to do music all the time,
How did you get to the clarinet? Was it just something like they said, okay, we're going to start, we've got band, class. Does anybody want to play this, play that, play the other? Was there a particular reason why you kind of gravitated towards a clarinet? Were you a Benny Goodman fan?
Sure, my dad was. He was a big Benny Goodman fan.
Really?
And he played clarinet as a hobby. He was actually a biology professor, but he played it as a hobby. So he showed me how to hold it, how to finger it, how to play it. And one summer just before 5th grade, and played it for all the way through college. But my love and passion really ignited when I saw the jazz band at school when I was in the 8th grade. I decided I want to play sax. So I begged my parents for saxophone, and they got me a Bundy saxophone. I remember buying it on it's like Craigslist, but it's like the penny ads, And we went to downtown Seattle, bought it, brought it home, and they wouldn't let me play it until I boiled the mouthpiece. For sanitary reasons. So I remember staring at the water, which it wasn't boiling yet, and this mouthpiece sitting in the pot, like anxiously waiting for it to boil so I could play the darn saxophone. It was like that feeling of, I can't wait to play this thing.
Was it tough getting started?
Yes and no. Because of the years of playing clarinet, I had some facility with my fingers, but I didn't understand the saxophone. And when I first put it together, the first song I played actually was Girl from Ipanema. I must have heard it someplace. I tried to do it by ear. But the funny thing was, saxophone players will laugh, I had my fingers in the wrong place. If you ever look at a saxophone, the normal playing position is you skip the first button, which is your high F. You're not supposed to put your finger there unless you're playing a high F. So that's where I had my finger, and if you put it there playing the other notes, nothing comes out. So I thought, this thing's broken. We got ripped off. I knew nothing.
So your dad was like an amateur clarinet player. Was your mom, was she involved in music in any way?
No, I credit her with playing the radio, and it's sort of half facetious, but she listened to good music. She listened to John Denver, the Carpenters, Spinners, really melodic, beautiful music. And there was always that playing in the house.
Yeah, it was the same with my mom. She had such great taste. She didn't drive. She'd walk up to the local record store, which is a block and a half away, and she'd bring back like the first Bonnie Raitt CD and everything. Nice. And everyone, the first Aretha Franklin. I mean, it was just the music that she played. She didn't play any instruments. She had a nice voice, but the music that she played had a definite impact on my life. And it sounds like your mom was the same way, right?
Very much so. And that is so important. Being now a music educator, I think that is one of the most important elements in music education for anyone is exposure. Just like sunlight, a plant needs sunlight. Exposure is like light. And you don't necessarily have to love everything you hear, but you need to be exposed to it to understand it so that you can kind of navigate your own way.
So you're teaching now?
I do. I teach at a college. I'm off during the summer, but we're about to start up again in September. And this is going to be my 8th year at the college. And I teach a variety of things. I teach a bunch of ensembles, like a jazz ensemble, a funk and groove ensemble, which you'd love. We do Earth, Wind, Fire, Stevie Wonder, Tower of Power, Chicago, just fun pop tunes. And I get the students rehearsed, and then we go out into clubs around Seattle and play gigs.
Kids, we're going out to the clubs. Let's go. Yeah.
A lot of them are not 21, so they have to play on stage. And as soon as we take a break, they have to go outside the club and stand in the parking lot during the breaks in the rain.
Now, are these bands that you're teaching? These groups, are they primarily horn based? Are they all instruments? Are you teaching everything?
Everything, yeah. So I have a full rhythm section, usually 1 or 2 guitars, 1 or 2 keyboardists, bass and drums, and then 6 singers, and then maybe 2 or 3 horns usually. So it's a big group. That's the funk and groove group, and then the other one is called jazz ensemble, traditional jazz ensemble. And I take that class. We travel every year. We go to Reno or Vegas to the different jazz festivals. So it's really a lot of fun, and I try to give them the full road experience. It's like, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, I want you to at the airport at 5 a.m. You'll get no sleep, and then I want you at sound check with no nap, and I want to see you in a good mood, not whining.
Yeah, right. After waiting around for sound check for 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you do enjoy it though, right?
I do, and I teach. That's the in-person ensemble stuff, and I also teach a fusion band and a woodwind quintet that does classical music. But when I'm not doing those, I'm running online courses as well at the same time. So
What do you mean you're teaching online courses?
Yeah, I've written 4 courses that run throughout the year that are Introduction to MIDI, MIDI Sequencing 1, MIDI Sequencing 2, and then MIDI drum programming. So it's all MIDI stuff.
Now, are you concerned about music being dropped out of so many of the public schools in like the grade school, middle school, high school level? Does that affect you? Like when kids come to you, do they have chops? Do you know what I mean?
A few of them, yes, I do know what you mean. A few of them, I've had the pleasure of working with some very, very talented students at this school. But to answer your question, it's a yes and no. Sometimes, they come and they're really got a lot of skills. Sometimes they can barely read a quarter note and they're just learning. And, that's kind of the nature of the community college system is we kind of, our doors are open to any kind of student. So I've learned to meet each student at whatever level they're at and then try to bring them up. That's kind of the goal.
All right, folks, and now a word from our sponsors. All right, let me tell you about Uline, one of my favorite businesses to deal with. I've been using Uline for years. Whenever I need shipping supplies for my CDs and cookbooks, I call Uline. You know what I love about them? When you call them, a real live human being answers the phone. A real live human being, slim people. They have your complete ordering history right there in front of them. And all you got to do is tell them what you want, and they ship it right away. And I don't know how they do it, but they always seem to get it to me the next day without the big overnight shipping fees. Check out their website, uline.com, or give them a call at 800-295-5510. I use them all the time, slim people, good folks to do biz with. Slim people, are you looking to buy or sell a home in the Palm Springs area? It's a really big area. There's a lot of towns around here. And if you want to buy or sell a home, I suggest you reach out to Cindy Guzet. She's with Berkshire Hathaway. They're a pretty good company, huh? And she's been living in the Palm Springs area for the past 20 years or so. And she knows this market like nobody else. She's got years of experience, and she's the go-to gal if you're looking for a condo or a house or a vacation home. As a matter of fact, when Guns N' Roses were in town for the Coachella Festival, they turned to Cindy Guzet to find them a place to rent for a couple of weeks. So no matter what your real estate needs are, you need to reach out to Cindy Guzet. Give her a call, 760-485-2505, or send her an email, cindy.guzet@outlook.com. That's 760-485-2505, or cindy.guzet, that's G-U-S as in Sam, E, @outlook.com. Another one of our sponsors here at Hobnobbin with Slim Man is the Foundation for International Aid to Animals, helping animals by helping people care for them. The FIAA is a nonprofit family foundation based right here in the U.S. of A. And the FIAA has pioneered sterilization and treatment programs for homeless and sheltered dogs. And it also helps people with limited resources treat and care for their pets. Check out their website, aidtoanimals.org. You can find out about all the great work they're doing for abused and neglected animals all around the world. They give support to wildlife rescues, sanctuaries, and reintroduction programs. They've funded documentaries to bring attention to the problems of homeless and unprotected animals, and it's a real inspiration to see an organization that cares so much, that does so much to help. And if you get inspired, there's a donate button. That's aid2animals.org. All right, let's get back into my conversation, my chit-chat with Sax Man Jeff Kashiwa. So, what's your background? Is Kashiwa? What's that? Ukrainian? Lithuanian?
Yes, exactly.
I thought so.
No, yeah. If you pronounce it Kashiwa, I'd be Jewish, but I'm actually Japanese.
You're Japanese. Now. Your folks are Japanese, first generation.
Yes, they are, and they. No, I'm the third generation. So my grandparents moved to Hawaii, on both sides. They moved to Hawaii from Japan, and then my parents were born in Hawaii, and then I was born in Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, Kentucky. What were a couple of Japanese folks doing in Louisville, Kentucky? I've been there many times. I haven't run into too many Asian
At the time,
Americans.
my dad was teaching biology at the University of Louisville, and then he got a better job offer at the University of Washington, and that's when we moved to Seattle. And basically, I grew up in Washington State.
So, do you like it up there in the old Northwest?
I do, especially this time of year. July, August, absolutely beautiful. Gorgeous.
And
sunny and 70.
Was there ever some kind of urge to move to, Southern California where the rest of this, smooth jazz world lives and kind of exists and records?
Yeah, after I went to college in the East Coast at Berklee College of Music in Boston.
You went to
transferred
Berklee?
To Cal State Long Beach. Yep. I went there for 2 years. 81 to 83, and a girl, really good piano player named Diana Krall was there too.
Wow.
Same time. Yeah, never got a chance to play with her there, but transferred out and finished my degree in Southern California and stayed there, and lived in Southern California for a good 15 years, and then I finally moved back home to Seattle.
How did you get your start? Was your first big band gig, not big band, was your first real band gig with the Rippingtons? They were pretty famous back in the early 80s. I remember my friend Carl was like vice president over at GRP Records, and Rippingtons were on GRP, and I remember him sending me their CDs. And how did all that come about? Because they've been around since the early 80s, right?
Yeah, mid 80s. I think their first album was 86, and it's called Moonlighting. And I purchased that. I purchased it twice because I lost the first copy and bought it again because I liked it so much. I think Kenny G was on it and David Benoit. And their second album, Kilimanjaro, third album. Yeah, I think I listened to all their albums, and when they got to their third album, I think Brandon Fields was thinking of leaving. So I got wind of that, and from the bass player at the time, Steve Bailey. He said, yeah, Brandon might be leaving. Why don't you learn these 3 songs in case we start auditioning players? And so I did, and I would bug him. I'd call him every couple weeks to see if there was an audition, and there wasn't yet. So he said, why don't you learn these 2 or 3 other songs? And this went on for a year, if you can believe it. An entire year, and I learned all 3 albums worth of material. I had it memorized. And finally, Russ called me to sub for a gig, to step in for a gig, and that was back in 89. And I got the gig at that point.
So you went in, you subbed for somebody, you substituted for somebody, and then you got the gig.
Yeah, and I wasn't the best player in L.A. probably, but I was definitely the most prepared because I'd learned all the music.
Now,
I was ready to go.
How long did you play with the Rippingtons?
So I've done 2 stints of about 9 years. So I did from that time when I got the gig, 9 years, and I left to start my own solo projects. And then I came back for the 20th year anniversary in 2006 and stayed for another 9 years and left last year.
Wow. Now, was it fun playing with a band like that? Because they were pretty well known in the jazz world. Was it a lot different than doing your own thing? Was it kind of nice to have somebody else taking charge and telling you where to go and what to do and where to be? And
Yeah, that's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's in one hand, and more than one hand. 75% of it was such a great relief to have that all taken care of. Just show up at the airport at this time. That's all I had to worry about. Play these songs, and it was really fun. So to answer your question, yeah, it was the dream of a lifetime. I got to be on a tour bus. I got to travel all over the world, not just the U.S., but all over the world, and play wonderful music written by Russ. He's such a great writer. And but the other side of it is, you kind of yearn for a more creative outlet, don't you? Want to do my own songs and play my own band.
So after 9 years of the Rippingtons, you decided to go out on your own, or was there some other thing? Do you know what I mean? Was it just I want to do my own music? Was that the impetus?
I thought to myself, if I don't dig in and really commit the time it takes to create my own sound and write the songs and produce and etc. If I don't take the time now, I'm never going to do it. So I decided to jump off the train, so to speak, and dig into my own project. And now I'm this is chapter 4 now, doing the same thing again, leaving the band and really focusing in on the solo stuff, and also Sax Pack, which is
tell me about the Sax Pack. I've never seen you guys. I've seen you guys outside of a venue, but I've never actually seen the band. It's you and sax player Steve Cole from Chicago and Kim Waters, who's from my home state of Maryland.
I know. Kim is, once in a while, he came back to do the third album with us, but he's busy with his own solo thing, so we've been using Jakeem Joyner and sometimes Marcus Anderson. And it's 3 saxophones playing in funky harmony. It's so much fun because we can actually pull off live arrangements of our studio albums, and all of our studio albums always have background sax parts. So it's nice to have the full arrangements on stage.
You had a huge smash hit single. What was it called? The Ooh Ah song? What was it called?
Yeah, the Ooh.
The Ooh song. Now, that wasn't the name of the song, right? You just named it after that because that's what everybody called it?
Yeah, that's the subtitle. The title is Hyde Park, the Ooh song.
Hyde Park, yeah. Now, that was like number 1 for like weeks, months, years, and it's still a standard in the jazz format. After you have a big hit single, was that a relief or a lot of pressure?
I think I might have been I'm very happy for that song. It was written by Dave Kohansky. I was about to say it how everyone else says it, Dave Kochansky. It's actually Dave Kohansky. And he wrote the song. We had finished the album, and he sent me a cassette tape. Remember those back then? He said, I got one more song if you have room. I said, no, sorry, we're already done with the album. We mixed it. We're done. And he said, well, I sent it to your label. Just check it out. And I passed on. I said, thanks. I'll save it for the next one, or maybe you can give it to someone else. It's not for me. And the label heard it and called me up and said, get back in the studio and record this song. And so I've got bad instincts sometimes. Yeah, I've learned to have better instincts. So
It's
that's
amazing.
the story of that song.
It's amazing how many albums that has happened with. I mean, the B-52s, Love Shack on that one album, they didn't want to do it, until the record company just held a gun to their heads and said, going to record this song was the last song to go in. I mean, Faith in Us, my big song for the first Slim Man CD back in 1842, that was the album was already finished.
1842.
It was already finished, and it was just the last song to go on the album. This was the last song to go on your album, and it turned out to be the biggest song so far of your career. Would that be fair to say that?
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, and I play it every gig. I close the show with it, and I have never ever gotten tired of playing it because it's a good song. It's well written, and the harmonic structure is constantly changing, so it never stagnates.
Now, you work with Dave Kohansky. A lot of folks probably don't know who he is. He's a keyboard player that was really, really, well, he's still really, really good. He played with the Rippingtons. I did a tour with him and Mark Antoine and Everett Harp. And he was the keyboard player, and he was just dazzling. Mark Antoine has a new album, and Dave Kohansky wrote a song on that one. It had that kind of Yellow Jackets vibe to it. And Dave Kohansky also wrote a song on your new album that has that kind of vibe. He's a real talented guy.
Absolutely. It is always the quality of the music that will get people calling, but that's a funny connection there because I had called Dave to help me out with a song for this new album, and he did, called La Lalo. And it was a perfect kind of vehicle for Marc Antoine to guest on. So I had Marc play on it. Marc mentioned how much he loved the song. I said, well, you should call Dave and have Dave write a song for you. So he did just that, and voila, he's on the Benoit Antoine project.
Yeah, Dave Kohansky, wasn't he playing with Britney Spears for a while?
Yep, Britney and also the American Idol was his big thing. American Idol live tour.
When was the first time I met you? Do you remember?
Probably somewhere in the East Coast.
Didn't we do a Christmas tour together?
That's what it was.
Remember, it was me, you, and was it Joyce Cooling, the guitar player?
I think that's right, yeah.
Yeah, we played up in Bend, Oregon or something at the ski resort, and you forced me to do that Grinch song. You're like, Slim,
I think
you
I
should
met
sing.
you on the East Coast prior, but yeah, that was the first time we played together for sure, yeah.
Yeah, we did that tour, and you insisted I do the Grinch song, and I was like, man, this is like a kid song. These people aren't gonna like this, know this. And the first time we did it, we got like a standing ovation. I was like, dang.
See, your inner Grinch. I connected you to the inner Grinch.
Yeah, we had fun. We played a couple of dates. Joyce Cooling's a lot of fun. I haven't heard from her in a while.
I emailed her out of the blue, just said, what's up? And she goes, yeah, I'm kind of not doing the live music scene anymore, but she's still making music and spending time with her family and just, enjoying life. So
do you have a family? Do you have kids and stuff?
I do. My wife and I have been married for, like I said, 24 or so years, and our daughter is now 14 years old. She just got her braces off, and she's just about to go into high school.
Yeah, I just met your daughter a couple of months ago when you were visiting at Marc Antoine's house.
Yeah, last year we were on vacation, and I stopped by her. It's good to see you.
Yeah. So, what you got coming up? I mean, you got the new CD, so I guess you're going to be pumping that up for the next year or so, right? You're going to go out and tour and do everything you can to push that up as far as it can go up the totem pole.
It's been an interesting summer. Usually I'm out touring on the road with my own solo project or sax pack. This year it's been not as much of that, which kind of sent me into a panic at first, like, how am I going to pay my mortgage? That whole thing. But what has filled my calendar is very interesting. I've been doing a lot of straight-ahead gigs here in the Seattle area because, I don't know if you're familiar with the name, but Pete Chrisley, one of the greatest tenor saxophone players ever, spent years playing on the Tonight Show band. He's the soloist on that group. He has moved to Tacoma, so he started his own little big band. I'm in that group. And then Pete also plays in Ron Jones' big band, another composer here in the area. And Ron is known for being the film score for The Family Guy and Star Trek: The Next Generation. And he left Hollywood to move up to the Great Northwest to start a studio business up here. So there's been a lot of activity in the big band jazz scene up here.
So you're doing a whole bunch of things. You're doing sax pack gigs when they come up. You're doing your own concerts if they come up. You're doing regional big band stuff with the original music. And you're backing up other people when they come into town. Is that the way it is for a lot of musicians? It just seems to be that these days you have to be a fisherman in a boat with like 18 poles in the water.
Yep. I like to think of it as a net. Multiple streams of income. That's the key to it all.
Do you cook? Didn't you mention to me that you could cook something?
Nowhere. I wish I had half your skills. Actually, I probably have a third of your skills. But
you told me you cook. Last time I saw you?
A little bit, but I don't do anything as delicious as what you do. I've seen your book.
So what, for instance, what's a typical Jeff Kashiwa dinner? Is your wife cooking? Are you cooking? Are you?
She doesn't cook, so I do all the cooking. I do some. Let's see, what do I make? I love to make tacos. I don't know why, because it's easy, probably. I love it. You've heard of Taco Tuesday? It's like Taco Tuesday through Sunday at my house.
Taco every day at the Kashiwa household. Yeah. So, the album is out now. It's called
Fly Away.
Fly Away, and so people can get it on iTunes. Did you put it up there?
Yep, iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby, and if you go to my website, jeffkashiwa.com, you can purchase it there, and I will autograph it for you and mail it right to you.
All right, is there anything else you'd like to say there, Jeff Kashiwa?
No, I'm going to take you up on your offer for dinner sometime because I know
Yeah, man.
you're a great cook.
Next time you're in the area, stop on by. I'll make you some meatballs.
Sounds good.
All right, Jeff, thanks a lot, man. All the best to you. Good luck
All
with
right.
the album, and let's keep in regular communication.
All right, thanks, Len.
So there you go. That was my chat with Sax Man Jeff Kashiwa. He's got a new CD called Fly Away, and it's out everywhere right now. I tell you, Jeff really puts his heart and soul into what he's doing, and he's got that spirit of excellence, which I always admire. Plus, he's such a positive and forward-moving guy. He's doing new music, he's teaching, he's giving back to the community. I like Jeff. We had fun on our little Christmas tour with Joyce Cooling a couple of years ago. All right, speaking of Jeff's new CD, why don't we check out a track? The CD is called Fly Away, and here's a song called Solstice.